give an announcement that has a little bit to do with oil and gas. And as you know from our customers, we do a lot of work for the oil and gas industry. That includes people that make the steel pipelines, do the welding, make the valves, do all the compressor stations from really coast to coast. So a lot of what happens today helps, if it helps the industry go forward, helps all of us here. And I think everyone here at Cambridge Materials knows that. So, Gary.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Bonjour, madame and monsieur. It's a great honor for me to be here at a place that obviously has a big role to play in the resource, gas mining sector of our nation. I want to thank all of you for taking a few minutes away from your work to listen to some of the things that the government intends to do to make your lives better and to improve, in fact, the opportunities for better jobs and growth for this country, this company, and many others like it across the nation. I should just start out by saying that normally when I come to a place to have a discussion with, the courtesy is that you get the rest of the day off. Now, I have talked to the management, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case. They're a bit hard to get along with, but you already know that. Ladies and gentlemen, the resource sector, as you know, has always been and remains the backbone of our nation. And as a chiropractor, I can tell you I know that full well. It is, in fact, to our economy what the Canadian Shield is to our geography. It goes to the very core of what we have been and what we are as a country. It has fostered the development of entire communities in every area of our country. It has also made possible for Canadians in every province and territory the opportunity to enjoy a quality of life that is second to none. In 2010, the number of people employed in this sector was 760,000 people. And we expect that to grow significantly over the next few years. Furthermore, the resource sector generates tens of billions of dollars worth of tax revenue for governments, which means that's less taxes out of your pockets and still the ability to pay for our social programs and the needs of the nations. And ladies and gentlemen, that's every single year. The fact is, there is now a tremendous new global opportunity for our country to take full advantage of our resources. It is estimated that some 500 major projects are on the table, representing more than $500 billion. Yes, that's B, billion dollar worth of new investments in our energy and mining industries over the next 10 years. In Ontario alone, there is estimated to be $108 billion in planned investments in our resource sector. This investment will create jobs all across Ontario, indeed, right here in Cambridge, North Dumfries. These are jobs that aren't just in the resource sector itself, ladies and gentlemen, but of course, every aspect of the Canadian economy, from services to manufacturers that make the products used in the resource sector, to places like yours that test those products to make sure they are safe and will in fact last the lifetime that they are intended to last, all the way through to the financial sector. All of these areas of our economy and our nation will see an increase as a result of resource development. For example, I can tell you that most people think of the resource area and energy and resource developments in faraway places, geographically distant from where we live as Canadians. The fact is, though, that every single Canadian stands to benefit in very real ways from the wealth created by these developments. But we have to seize the moment. We have to take the opportunity when it is here. It will not last forever. We're going to have to compete with other resource-rich countries for those vital job-creating investment dollars. And acting on this opportunity means putting into place a world-class regulatory system to review major projects. We need a system that ensures timely, efficient, and effective reviews. A system that promotes business confidence and investments while at the very same time strengthening our world-class environmental standards. You think that's possible? I do. And we call that, ladies and gentlemen, the responsible resource development. It has 4 main pillars. First, to make project reviews more predictable and timely. Second, to reduce unnecessary duplications and regulatory burdens, some of which are already outdated. Third, to strengthen the environmental protection intended, and fourth, to enhance consultation with Aboriginal peoples. The plan's guiding principle is fairly simple and straightforward. In protecting the environment, we believe our sense of the common good should be matched by our good common sense. Common sense to clear up the clutter and confusion that sometimes has more than 40 federal agencies and departments involved in the assessment process. Common sense in addressing the delays and unpredictability of the current system with its open-ended reviews that often require not only a few months, but, ladies and gentlemen, in many cases, several years to complete. Common sense in eliminating unnecessary duplication within the federal government itself and with our partners in the provincial governments. And common sense in making our efforts to protect the environment as effective as possible. Common and good common sense, ladies and gentlemen, these have always been the twin pillars of good public policy, and I can tell you they are front and center in our plan to modernize the regulatory system. Now, I'm sure that folks in previous governments had the best of intentions. When they would add a rule here and perhaps a new procedure there, or another department or agency would ask to be involved, and what happens is year after year, the accumulative effect as the decades go on means that we have ended up with a tangled web of rules and procedures, a web that now jeopardizes the timely and responsible development of our natural resources and our ability to take advantage of these billions and billions of dollars for Canadians. We believe that it is high time to take a whole-of-government approach in order to streamline and modernize our outdated regulatory system. We want to put in place a new system, and it's very simple. One project, one review, in a clearly defined time period. Here are a few steps that we intend to bring forward to make the regulatory system much more efficient and much more effective. We intend to focus federal assessments efforts on major projects that can have a significant impact on the environment, excuse me, as opposed to the current system in which thousands of small projects that pose little or no risk to the environment still get reviewed. Did you realize that we always have reviews I'll give you an example of one. We had a case where someone had to have an environmental review, thank you, Peter, when he wanted to build a small building to wash his blackberries. We have other cases across the country where if somebody wants to have a charity run for cancer or something through one of our parks, they would need an environmental assessment. Well, this is just ridiculous, and we want to focus our resources on those projects that actually can have a major impact. Within the federal government, we also intend to consolidate responsibilities for environmental assessments to 3 agencies. For most projects, the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency and the National Energy Board and the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission for projects within their mandate. We also intend to reduce unnecessary duplication between federal and provincial governments by, among other things, recognizing the validity of provincial environmental reviews when they meet the substantive requirements of the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act. And we intend to fix the timelines by introducing fixed timelines for government activities associated with the review. For example, 24 months for review panels under the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act and 18 months for projects under the National Energy Board. These are just a few examples of the ways we will be making the program and the system more efficient. But as I mentioned earlier, we also want to make the regulatory system more effective in protecting our environment. That's exactly why we are taking real and concrete and substantive action in this regard. For example, we intend to introduce enforceable environmental assessment decision statements to ensure project proponents comply with the mitigation measures as well as new penalties for violations. We will enhance pipeline and marine safety through initiatives such as a strengthened tanker safety regime and a substantial increase in the number of inspections for oil and gas pipelines. We intend to strengthen compliance by authorizing the use of administrative monetary penalties for violations of the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act, the Nuclear Safety Act and Control Act, and the National Energy Board Act. And in cooperation with provincial governments, we intend to allow the greater use of regional environmental assessments to identify and address potential regional and cumulative effects of projects, especially in areas who are experiencing large-scale development. Now, I know that some people, ladies and gentlemen, believe that you can only do one thing at a time. That in fact, this is an either-or proposition. That indeed it can only be the economy or the environment. Well, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we're Canadians. We can do more than one thing at a time, and I couldn't disagree more with those who say that. We believe that not only can we do two things at the same time, we must work together on both sides. We believe that these measures do that. That they find the balance. They are reasonable and they are practical. Ladies and gentlemen, we Canadians have a wonderful new opportunity before us. The global economy's appetite for our kinds of resources are never bigger than they have been in the past. But we also know that it is not only possible, but it is absolutely necessary and essential to develop our natural resources in a responsible way. And that means maintaining, and in fact, in this case, strengthening the protection for our environment. And that is exactly what responsible resource development means, and that's what this announcement's all about. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your day off.